Okay, thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Go Premanandi, Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Maharani ki jai. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 5, Chapter 14. Text 4. Good. There we go. Text 4. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Krishne Svadamo Pagate Dharma Jnana Divisaha Kalau Nashta Drisham Esha Puranarko Dunoditaha. This Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by knowledge, religion, etc. Those persons who've lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Canto 5, Chapter 14, Text 4. The Forest of Enjoyment. Okay, so it's a prose verse. So I'm going to try to read the prose verse, then we can go through the word for word. Yata hi anuvatsaram shimanam apyadagda bijam chetram punar eva papanna kale gulmatra virubir gavaram iva bhavatyevam eva grihashrama karma chetram yasminnahi karman utsidanti yad ayam Kama karanda esha avasatta. Word for word. Yata. Just as. He. Certainly. Anuvatsaram. Every year. Krishyamanam. Being plowed. Plowed. Api. Although. Adagda bijam, in which the seeds are not burned. Chetram, the field. Puna, again. Eva, certainly. Avapana kale, at the times for sowing the seeds. Gulma, by bushes. Trina, by grasses. Virudbi, by the creepers. Gavaram iva, like a bower. Bhavati, becomes. Evam, thus. Eva, certainly. Griha ashrama, family life. Karma chetram, the field of activities. Yasmin, in which. Na, not. He, certainly. Karmani, utsidanti, fruitive activities disappear. Yat, therefore. Ayam, this. Kama karanda, the storehouse of fruitive desire. Esha, this. Avasatta, abode. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Every year the plowman plows over his grain field, completely uprooting all weeds. Nonetheless, the seeds lie there and, not being completely burned, again come up with the plants sown in the field. Even after being plowed under, the weeds come up densely. Similarly, the Grihastha ashram, family life, is a field of fruitive activity. Unless the desire to enjoy family life is completely burned out, it grows up again and again. Even though camphor may be removed from a pot, the pot nonetheless retains the aroma of camphor, as long as the seeds of desire are not destroyed. Fruitive activities are not destroyed. Purport. Unless one's desires are completely transferred to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the desire for family life continues, even after one has taken sannyas. Sometimes in our society, ISKCON, a person out of sentiment may take sannyas, but because his desires are not burned completely, he again takes to family life, even at the risk of losing his prestige and disgracing his good name. These strong desires can be burned out completely when one fully engages in the service of the Lord in devotional service. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. That's the right glasses. I tried progressive glasses, but they don't work for me, so. Nice example is being given here. The nature of material desire. And what is that desire? That desire is to enjoy the material world. What is our life based on in the material world? It's based on our envy of Krishna and our desire to take Krishna's position. Yes? That's it. That's the whole program. Everyone is trying in a silly way, in a ridiculous way, because the soul is tiny and Krishna is infinite. But the soul, the infinitesimal soul, is trying to take the position of the infinite soul. And what does that mean? Trying to be the center of attraction. And if we just think about it, in any sort of way, of course we're not the center of attraction. We're in a room and most of the people in the room are thinking, I'm the center of attraction. So everyone is thinking, I'm the center of attraction. Sometimes someone very prominent comes and they are the center of attraction. But that egocentric sort of mentality, it's so delusional. I'm the center of reality. And along with that, I'm the enjoyer. Yes? So I come into this world and I look at the objects of this world and I look at them with the attitude of, let me enjoy them. Because that's Krishna's position. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. He's the real enjoyer. That's his just natural position. Ekale Ishwara Krishna arasaba britya. Krishna is the only enjoyer, the only master. Everyone else is his servant, and happily so. When we hear the word servant as a conditioned soul, it has not a very sweet ring to it. Service in this world is typically not so sweet. What's your position? I remember when I was in India and someone was, so what's your occupation? And if they had an occupation which was based on service to others, I'm a flight attendant, so I'm serving the people on the flight, or I'm working in some kind, they felt ashamed. I'm working in a restaurant, so I'm serving. And I'm putting on a smile, but I'm serving because I need the money. It's not, I'm serving in the ecstasy of serving these customers at the restaurant. So generally, people try to avoid the position of servant. Yes? No, let me not be the servant. Let me be in a higher position where I don't have to serve. But the position of being a servant in relationship to Krishna produces the highest ecstasy, the highest happiness, unparalleled happiness. Who wants to be a servant? Everyone in the spiritual world is relishing, eager for the opportunity to serve Krishna. Even God himself. God expands himself into so many forms, yes? First expansion, Balaram. And then from Balaram, so many other expansions are coming. And even in the Panchatattva, you have Lord Nityananda and Sri Advaita Acharya. And they are so happily situated they're God. That's God. Huh? Advaita Acharya, Sadashiva, he's God. Mahavishnu. Lord Nityananda, he's Balaram himself. But they don't want to take the position of enjoyer. They want to take the position of servant. And Advaita Acharya was very unhappy because he's senior, he's elderly. He's generally depicted with the gray hair. He's elderly. And Lord Chaitanya, naturally, out of culture and etiquette, he was treating him with respect, like his elder. Advaita Acharya was not so pleased with this, so he devised a scheme. He started preaching impersonal philosophy. Lord Chaitanya got hint of that. He heard Advaita Acharya is preaching impersonal philosophy. So let's go see what's going on. So he went with Nityananda Prabhu to Shantipur, and there was Advaita Acharya sitting on the Vyasasana and preaching from Yoga Vasishta, some impersonal ideas. And Lord Chaitanya asked him, so, Advaita Acharya, what is the highest? What is the highest truth? Is the impersonal path higher than the path? Advaita Acharya said, yes, impersonal path is the highest, merging into the absolute truth. What could be a greater? Lord Chaitanya became so angry that he grabbed him and pushed him off the Vyasasana and began beating him. And Advaita Acharya's wife was alarmed. No, please stop. He's an old man. You're going to kill him. And Advaita Acharya was so happy that now Lord Chaitanya was treating him like a servant. So even there, relishing, hankering for the position of being a servant. And Krishna himself, Svayam Bhagavan, he looks and he sees that I'm the supreme enjoyer, the reservoir of all pleasure. I'm relishing all the different rasas, being loved by my servants, relishing that flavor, being loved by my friends, the different flavors of love, being loved by Mother Yashoda and Nanda Bhava and all of the elderly residents of Vrindavan. No one in the spiritual world is old, but the older residents, relishing the sweet flavor of being loved by parents, and then relishing the love of his consorts, the gopis. And then Krishna said, these servants of mine are experiencing much more pleasure than I'm experiencing. I wonder what they're experiencing. What is it that's overwhelming them by this attitude and act of serving me? So he comes as Lord Chaitanya to taste the ecstasy of the highest of his servants, Srimati Radharani. And somehow in this world, the conditioned souls are totally averse to the idea of service to God. Yes? Just like if you think about all of the philosophies that are propagated in this world, so-called spiritual philosophies, what are they missing? What's missing from the equation? The most important thing, the most. Even you have, the swamis and the yogis and the so-called gurus, and they say, "Oh, yeah, aham brahmasmi." We're all Brahman, and it sounds very good, and it's true. It's true up to a certain point. They present the good ones. Good? They present the truth up to a certain point. But what do they leave out? They leave about the most essential piece of information, the constitutional position of the soul. They never mention that you're a humble servant of God. They never mention that. Either they don't know it, or they're afraid to lose their audience. Because immediately you present that to the audience and was, oh no, you tell me that I'm God, that I can merge I can become free of all suffering and I can become one with God. This is a nice idea. That idea rings nice and sweet to my ears. The idea of becoming, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to become God in the material world, and that's a tough gig. There's a lot of competition, 8 billion human beings all trying to be God. We can expect a few collisions, maybe more than a few. Everyone colliding, all trying to be the enjoyer. You're not cooperating with my plan, and therefore fighting. So along comes Swami, some Swami, and he says, oh, material existence is suffering, but you can become one with God. So I like that idea, because there's envy of the heart towards Krishna. But this is the sweetest position to achieve. And so what is it that's ultimately binding the soul to this world? I had a godbrother. He was an Indian gentleman, very refined. He was a surgeon, very educated, cultured, had very good qualities. And he had a challenge, one challenge that he was having a heck of a time. And guess which of the 4 regulative principles he was having a tough time with? Take a guess, anyone in the room. What do you think? Illicit sex. No. He just couldn't give up the habit of purchasing that lottery ticket. That's bizarre, So that's the challenge you have? He just thought, I gotta just buy a lottery ticket with the hope that I'll become, he's already rich, he already had money, but I'll become like a mega something, So that's not typically the challenge of the material world. That's not typically the challenge. The challenge is something different. The challenge is the very deep-rooted knot in the heart. Maitunya agara. Pumsastriya mituni bhava metam. Tayor miturudya grantim ahu. It's a tight knot in the heart. The attraction for sex life. It's so deep-rooted. Because that's especially how one tries to imitate Krishna. Yes? That's especially when one is engaged in that act, one is thinking, yes, I'm the man. I'm enjoying. I'm the enjoyer. So this is especially deep-rooted and very difficult for it to die. Certain bad habits, they die quickly. You chant Hare Krishna, you associate with the devotees, the bad habit falls away. Other bad habits, they might die over a little bit more period of time. But this habit, this addiction, this tendency, it doesn't die so easily. It's very deep-rooted. It's the basis of material existence. In this respect, Prabhupada said Freud was right. One of Prabhupada's early disciples was saying, that this Freud, this nonsense. Freud says that sex life is the basis of, I don't know the detail, is the basis. Prabhupada said, yes, he is right. Who was it? The king. Was it King Akbar? Akbar. He asked his minister. I think it was Akbar. He asked his minister. So when does this sex desire, when does it, at what age does it go away? And the minister said, no, it stays. It stays, even with an old man. Akbar was like, really? Come on. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think it was Akbar. I don't recall. It's my vow to make at least 1 or 2 mistakes every class. So this might be the mistake, one of the mistakes I make. And he said, come on, to his minister, you're a wise person. That doesn't make any sense to me. Some old man, still attracted, still pushed. And the minister just smiled and said, anyway, I'll show you in due course of time. So suddenly the minister sometime later came and called the king, please come with me, please. So the minister must have some business. So the minister told the king, you bring your young daughter. And amongst the 4 orders of life, the Kshatriyas are known to be especially attractive, yes? Brahmins, sometimes not. Kshatriyas are known to be the most attractive amongst the 4 varnas. You bring your young daughter. So he brought his young daughter, and they went into the presence of an old man that was on his deathbed. And a man on his deathbed is supposed to be focused on something specific. Supposed to be focused on Vishnu, supposed to be focused on... So the man is just lying there, just on his deathbed. And the minister told the king, now you observe this old man who's about to die. So, okay. So they came in there, the king with his daughter and the minister, and they came in. And this is the king who's just walked into this old man's house. If the king walks in, you pay attention to the king. And the old man, practically ready to leave his body, looked up, and his gaze just fell on the daughter of the king. And then the king was astonished and enlightened. I see. Even at the time of death, that desire remains, and it pushes one to the next body to again try to enjoy in this form or that form, male or female or whatever. So very deep-rooted. And the Shastra gives so many examples, isn't it? Graphic, extreme examples. Just so that no one thinks, oh yeah, okay, I think I got this under control now, I think I'm doing pretty good. Because sometimes we're practicing Krishna consciousness and we're immersed in the activities of Krishna consciousness and in preaching Krishna consciousness, and we get a higher taste. And we start experiencing a little bit of detachment from the things that used to harass us. And we think, oh, maybe I'm beyond it all. I'm transcendental. So the Shastras say, don't think like that. And which examples? Many examples they give, right to the top. Right? You have the example of Vishvamitra Muni. Vishvamitra Muni was a very powerful king. And then he had a collision with Vashishta Muni. It's a nice story. He came into the ashram of Vashishta Muni. He had his he's a king, so he's traveling with lots and lots of soldiers and a whole entourage. And Vashishta Muni invites him and says, you please let me host you. And Vishvamitra, I'm paraphrasing and I'm shortening the story. Vishvamitra says, no, I don't want to disturb you. I have all of these soldiers. And says, no, please, you bring everyone. I want to host you. And so, sure, the sage in the forest is going to host us. We're accustomed to royal feasts, all sorts of opulence. What's this sage going to offer us? A feast of sages. There's certain things that are insignificant. Does anyone remember Shanakya Pandit, what he says about certain things that are not so significant? 2 goats, the guys with the horns, they're facing off, ready to fight, and it looks like something dramatic is going to happen. This looks like it's really the battle of the strongest. They're all snorting, and it's 2 goats. They go, they bump into each other once, twice, 3 times, and they walk away. That's it. There's no knockout. There's no one getting choked out. Nothing. It's just, it ends real quick. Thunder in the morning. If it's thundering in the morning, it looks like something very dramatic is happening, but there won't be any rain. This is what's said. Fight, but I think this is an old-fashioned example. Maybe it doesn't apply nowadays. Fight between husband and wife. It flares up. I hate you too. And then 10 minutes later, it's like, nothing. That's how it should be. That's how it's supposed to be. We don't take it seriously. Water off the back of a duck, yeah? And what else? A feast of sages in the forest. What are the sages going to offer? A few roots, a few berries, some fruits that might have fallen. That's it. So Vashishta Muni, he invites Vishwamitra, says, okay, yes, of course, we don't want to be inhospitable. So Vashishta Muni just lays out the most amazing feast by dint of his Kamadhenu cow. He had a Kamadhenu cow that was able to provide everything. Just like you have the trees of the spiritual world. What are they called? Kalpa Vriksha trees. I only asked because I forgot. Kalpa Vriksha. Anything that the person desires for the service of Krishna, any season, immediately provided. So this Kamadhenu was like that. Would provide anything that was requested. For Vashishta Muni, for his services, for his yagyas. Elaborate feast, mind-blowing, mouth-watering feast was offered to Vishvamitra and all of his soldiers. And Vishvamitra was astonished, and he said, well, I'll give you 100,000 cows in exchange for your 1 cow. And Vashishta said, no, this cow is used for the upliftment of humanity and for yajnas, and I won't do it. Anyway, Vishvamitra became frustrated with his lack of power because he was defeated. And finally he thought, I have to elevate myself. I just have to become purified and more powerful. So he went off as a great yogi into the jungle or the mountains or wherever, started performing austerities. Severe austerities with a fixed vow, firm determination. And Indra became a little worried. What is this person doing? Is this person going to steal my position? Indra is typically Sakama devotee. He's a devotee, of course. Great devotee, but Sakama, mixed. He likes his position, attached to his position. And he's got a position which is easy to be attached to. Kali Yuga is a blessed age. It's a blessed age. And the sages, the wise people say, it's a blessed age. Because it's so tough. It's so tough. What's there to be attached to? Most people don't have that much to be attached to. Some people do. Some people are riding a wave of really so-called good karma. And therefore it's really tough to explain to them what the material world is. But most people are grinding it. It's tough. So Indra, he's attached to his Vishvamitra Muni. This person is really performing some serious austerities. I have to stop him. So he sends his secret weapon, Menaka, one of the top apsaras. Everyone is designed for something different in this material world. Yeah? So people say, I was just born to sing, and they were. They just have a voice, and they have the psyche just to be a singer or an actor or a leader or whatever, right? So the apsaras, they have a particular type of karma, and they're just designed to kill. Like, I'm ready to go back to Godhead. Don't meet an apsara. Because you'll think, nope, I think I'll stay a little bit longer in the material world, even if you're an advanced soul. So Menaka was sent. And Vishvamitra was sitting there in fixed meditation, austerity. His eyes were, then he heard the tinkling of the ankle bells. He opened his eyes and there's Menaka. And he said, what was my purpose in life? What was I trying to do? I know what I want to do now. So he united with Menaka and stayed with her for a long time. I think it was 100 years of high-grade enjoyment. And then he thought, oh man, what have I done? Snapped out of it. Got back to his real business. Again, austerity. Firm austerity. I won't fall victim again to lust. I won't do it. Fixed. Indra again became concerned. And he sent Menaka's sister. Not her sister, but another version of Menaka. And again, Vishvamitra opened his eyes and he saw another apsara and he said, no, I will not fall victim to lust. And he thought, this rascal woman, she's coming to disrupt my vow. I curse you. Couldn't control his anger. They say that anger is even more difficult to control than lust. That's what the Shastra says. It can just flare up. Flare up and cause a person to do something positively crazy. Ruin their life entirely. Totally ruin their life. Get a person put in jail for life just on a moment's loss of self-control. So Vishvamitra Muni. And even a more graphic example than Vishvamitra Muni. The most graphic example. Most? We can say the most. Brahma. Yeah? To achieve the position of Brahma, one has to follow Varnashram Dharma perfectly for how many lifetimes? I believe it's 100. I don't think it's 1,000. I think it's 100 lifetimes. Following Varnashram perfectly. Who can do that, Sometimes there's no one in the universe who's qualified to take the post of Brahma. That's the qualification to get that position. So Krishna says, okay, I guess I'll do it, So Krishna expands himself and takes the position of Brahma. It's such an exalted position. And such a graphic example given in the Shastra. Most graphic example, Brahma, the most qualified person. And he became attracted to his daughter. What? And running after his daughter. And then Mohini Murti is Krishna, the reservoir of all beauty, mind-enchanting beauty. That's Krishna, mind-enchanting. That for eternity, the residents of Vrindavan have been seeing Krishna, interacting with Krishna. And when they see him again after he's coming back from the forest, herding the cows in the forest, it's as though they're seeing him for the first time. They're just completely enchanted by his beauty, overwhelmed by his beauty. Who is that? My God. How can someone be that beautiful? That's Krishna. Beauty beyond description. Whatever beauty there is in this world, the most beautiful thing, the beauty in the most beautiful human being, the beauty of the moon, the beauty of a river, any beauty. What is it? The beauty of the heavenly planets and the residents of the heavenly planets. Atava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjana vistabhyaham idam kritsnam. I think I'm quoting the right verse, is it? It's a spark of Krishna's. Imagine the fire. If that's a spark, that spark which wow, that's really pulls everyone's mind, pulls everyone's senses, and everyone thinks, wow, I can't imagine someone or something being that beautiful. That's a spark compared to the fire. And then Krishna assumes the form of a female. Mohini, so beautiful. And she's talking to the demons. And she's saying, and then all the demons completely lost their intelligence, There was a scientific study which was conducted. Silly scientific study. Well-funded scientific study over a course of... And the conclusion was that in the presence of a beautiful woman, a man's intelligence is diminished. And you needed to spend $1 million to understand that? In other studies, it's found that children who watch violent video games for 6 hours a day develop violent tendencies. So the demons are just completely bewildered, dumbfounded in the presence of... And she said, I might cheat you. You really can't trust me. I said, we trust you anyway. So she says, okay, you're so well behaved, so I'll just give some of the nectar to the demigods first, because they're not so self-controlled like you are. And the demon said, okay. And then Lord Shiva, he's self-control personified. That's who he is. Self-control, Vaishnavanam Yatasha. He's as self-controlled as you get. He saw Mohini Murti, and it was that typical scene, she was bouncing the ball. It's very funny. She's bouncing the ball, and the wind comes and blows off some of her garments, and Shiva just loses it. And he starts following her. And he grabs her, and she thinks, you're meant for my enjoyment. And she breaks loose of Lord Shiva, and she starts running away. And very purposely, Krishna, in the form of Mohini, where does he run? He runs past the hermitages of lots of different types of sages. And all of these sages they have the deepest reverence for Lord Shiva, and they're all engaged in their austerity and their meditation and their connection with divinity, with God, and they're thinking, I'm making progress. And then they see this scene, Mohini Murti, this ungodly, the most godly beauty, running, and Shiva madly running after her. Why? Krishna teaching them a lesson. That's Lord Shiva. Don't ever think you're beyond this. Don't ever think such a thing. Instructive. Other things are easier to give up. This deep-rooted desire is very difficult. And it comes in a subtle form also, of course. The gross desire just for sexual enjoyment, and then the subtle desire. Profit, distinction, adoration. People think I'm special. People are telling me I'm special. I am special. And this keeps the soul bound to this world. And people are chasing after these desires, yeah? That's the goal of their life. That's the goal of their life, right? One desire, I got this desire. I'm going to figure out how to fulfill this desire, right? Oh no, my sex drive is diminishing. Thank you, science. You've invented a pill, to keep me virile till I'm 80 years old, right? Because God forbid that our desires should decrease. But anyone with a brain is thinking, I got all these desires, and what? Those are desires I don't desire. They're desires we don't want. We don't desire those desires. But they just stick to us. They stick. And Krishna consciousness is the process. Cheto darpana marjanam bhavamahada vagni nirvapanam. Krishna consciousness is the process for purging the soul, cleansing the heart of these desires through sound vibration, through hearing about Krishna. Just like there's a different way to clean different things. The floor, you clean it with water and a rag. Computer, sometimes you hear stories about some totally backward person. They've got a computer. Well, it's dirty. Homer, bring the water. No, computer you clean with air, yes, and a cloth. In case someone didn't know that, memo. So there's different ways to clean different. So consciousness can be dirtied or cleansed through sound vibration. What we hear shapes our consciousness. Our consciousness is shaped by all the things we experience, but especially by sound. It's very powerfully shaped. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtan. And if we engage in regular hearing and chanting, the effect is there. The consciousness becomes purified, cleansed. That's nice. The one thing that's missing in life, the one thing, it's not that I don't have this or I'm missing that, or we need things, of course we do. But the one thing that's missing, the prime missing ingredient is pure consciousness. If someone has pure consciousness, that's it. They're happy. Yeah? And if someone doesn't have pure consciousness, if the consciousness is hounded by desires and disruptions and impurities, and you can be in the most pristine place. Sometimes you see it, isn't it? You're on vacation in whatever, Madagascar or Mauritius or Bali, and it's, the sun is setting, it's a beautiful scene, everyone, all of the externals are perfectly in place. The weather is perfect, you're drinking your non-alcoholic pina colada, all the externals are perfectly in place, and you look at the person, unhappy, miserable, and the person, why? Why am I unhappy? I'm sitting next to this beautiful person. I've got my pina colada. The sun is setting. I'm in Bali. Why am I Well, because the consciousness is impure. And if the consciousness is pure, any condition of life, a person is peaceful, satisfied. That's it. This is the missing. So this is the process, hearing and chanting. Hearing and chanting. And when we fill ourselves up with hearing and chanting and the cup is overflowing a little bit, what happens to the overflow? What's supposed to just flush it down the sink? The overflow? What do you do with the overflow? You give it. You give it to others. Then Krishna takes notice. Somehow or other, participate in doing some good for others. Just as someone did some good for us, yes? We're not sitting here by chance. We're sitting here because some devotee, servant of Prabhupada, took the austerity. And if you hear about the austerities of the servants of Prabhupada, it's humbling. It's just humbling. Here we are living so comfortably. Zurich temple, what's for prasad? Oh, that's what's for prasad. Take a little. They lived under such austere conditions. They accepted the greatest hardships for the sake of helping others on Prabhupada's order, for Prabhupada's pleasure. The whole world, especially we, are so indebted to them. So indebted. And if one takes austerity, some trouble, to help other souls, Krishna takes notice. He takes notice. And when Krishna takes notice of us, we get his glance, and that glance gives us a higher taste. It helps us to not be victimized by our desires. Because until we're completely purified, the desires are just lingering there. They're just lingering, ready to pounce, ready to attack, ready to ruin our lives, or at least disrupt our lives, yeah? Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina. So one has to get a higher taste. And this is the process of getting the higher taste. Is to drink deeply, deal with all souls very carefully, respectfully, appreciatively, and share Krishna consciousness to the best of our capacity. And then the time will come when the full flood of Gaur Nitai's mercy will come. They didn't come to give some droplets of spiritual, no. They came and they gave the flood of prema. And when the flood comes, then the seed of material desire that's in the heart, it's destroyed. Then there's no risk. There's no attraction. By Krishna's grace, the veil of material illusion is lifted, and one sees the material world for what it is. It's a bluff. It's a mirage. Yes, there's water here. No, there's no water there. And one sees it clear as day, and there's no attraction. The seed of material desire, material attraction, is destroyed at the root. Seed and root, that doesn't fit, but anyway. So we continue patiently. It takes time. And we should never be discouraged, because amongst all souls, we're more blessed than we know. Why do I say that? Because we don't yet know what we have. We read about it, we hear about it, and say, okay, it sounds wonderful what the residents of Vrindavan are experiencing. We don't know yet what we have. We have a little tiny glimpse of it, but we don't know what we have. The greatest treasure. The treasure which descended from the spiritual world. It is, Golokera Prema Dan. The divine treasure of love of God has descended. And so we should be very careful and vigilant and appreciative and take advantage of this great gift. So we have no time for questions. 8:30 we end, yes? Thank you all so much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai.